Kalaye Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnananashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam. With the immense blessings of our beloved Guru Maharaj, Maharanyam Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, and by the causeless mercy of Sri Madhuri Sakhi Sameta Premikavarda Thakurji, we are in the 26th chapter of Kapila Sankhya Madam, Kapilopakhyanam. And in this 26th chapter, our Sridhara Swami says the most important themes of the 26th chapter is to differentiate clearly, distinctly. There is something called qualifying something, and there is something called defining something. You can give a quality and explain a quality of a vastu, of an entity. But that quality alone may not uniquely differentiate it. If something uniquely differentiates it, it is called a distinctive feature or a characteristic feature or a defining feature. So it clearly separates it from the rest. So here, the most important distinction or the most important differentiation is to define Purusha and Prakrti distinctly so that we don't get mixed between nature and Bhagavan. And the whole problem with the scientific community from the angle of Sanatana Dharma is they get a little mixed up between Prakrti and Purusha. That's why they deny even the existence of Purusha. And that's what generally even Sankhya Mata of non-Bhagavata or non-Vaidika Sankhya Mata also does the same thing. It says Prakrti is all powerful, it is independent, etc. But here in the 26th chapter, the most important distinction being done is to discriminate, in the sense, define Prakrti as distinct from Purusha and show the connection or the relationship between Prakrti and Purusha, and through Sankhyayoga. And then all the other categories are categories of Prakrti. It's very important because all the other categories are merely categories of Prakrti. The reason why I'm telling you this is scientists of the medieval Europe, when they were trying to define and could not explain some of the forces in the system, what they were trying to say is it's a hand of God, you see. And here our rishis were very clear, anything which is in this universe, everything is Prakrti. You don't have to bring Purusha directly into it. Which means if you actually explain the hand of God as some balancing force or something like that in science, suddenly we are not in a crisis of is then God not having a hand when science explains it. Science can explain Prakrti almost to its completion. But Purusha does not get directly involved in this manifested universe. It is all explained through Prakrti. And that is the reason why we have to differentiate these two. Because Prakrti is Jadam. And Prakrti is actually the power of Purusha or consciousness, Bhagavan, to actually create, sustain, and dissolve this universe. We already saw that. So, all the various causes of this creation and its different characteristics, not that which defines it, you see, which is distinct from other characteristics, are all very beautifully enumerated and described in the 26th chapter. It not only talks about manifested universe as an objective universe, it also seeks to define the subject which actually sees this universe through its various internal organs, including mind, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. That is the beauty of Sankhya system, where when it says I am explaining this universe, that universe includes the one which sees also the observer, or the observing part of the observer, which is observed through the various sense organs, mind, buddhi, etc. And then our Sridhara Swami also says it is also in line with the knowledge given by Brahma to Narada and same from Maitreya to Vidura, because it is Vaidika Sankhya. It is a Sankhya which is in line with the purport of Vedas. It is the Sankhya which is called Sa Ishwara Sankhya. So it's called Seshwara Sankhya. It clearly understands the supremacy of Purusha over Prakrti and also delineates the various categories, etc. So this is the defining, this is the beautiful essence of the chapter, which is called Adhyaya Sangraham, given by our Sridhara Swami. So quickly we will see some of the models we made and go from there. And we saw that Prakrti was discussed already. I told you Prakrti and Purusha. And Purusha is Chaitanyam, Jiva is Chaitanyam, Ishwara is Chaitanyam. Together, you can call them as Purusha. Depending on the context, Purusha can mean both. Purusha can mean Ishwara, Purusha can mean Jiva also. And depending on the context. And so, we distinctly differentiate Chaitanyam from Jadam. Jadam is Prakrti, and this Jadam in a spiritual sense has two important Shaktis called Avarana Shakti and Vikshepak Shakti, because finally every branch of knowledge in Sanatana Dharma leads to Bhagavan only. That is the whole purpose of knowledge. Vidya, Vadu, Jivanam is finally Krishna Sakshatkaram. So every branch of knowledge is not complete until it takes us finally towards the purpose, grand purpose of life, which is not just dharma, artha, or kama, but it is moksha. And so even the lot of scientific principles are going to be discussed, but finally it will lead to the final goal. That's how integrated knowledge or learning is in Sanatana Dharma. And that is the reason why there is no conflict between branches of knowledge, because finally everything is interwoven to lead us to the final goal of human existence, which is moksha, which is Bhagavan. And so here, Prakrti has two Shaktis with respect to consciousness or Purusha. So that's how it is starting. And the two powers of Prakrti is Avarana Shakti, which means covering. So that which is true is Chaitanya, consciousness, which is Jiva, Ishwara. It is in these two forms, two categories. Depending on which sampradaya or which tattva or which matha we follow. In Advaita Mata, as consciousness, they don't want to separate Jiva and Ishwara as consciousness. They say consciousness is one. In Visishtadvaita and Dvaita, they say that yes, Jiva is also conscious, Ishwara is also conscious, but they are like Anga and Angi. They are like a part and the whole type of a relationship. They are not different in the sense that the part is not different from the whole. In Madhva philosophy, it's a very big overview. There are a lot of discussions within it. It is Jiva is distinctly different from Ishvara. Swarupata. When you say Swarupam, Jiva is totally different from Ishvara, and Jiva are totally separate from each other. In Visishtadvaita philosophy, once you go to Vaikuntham, once you have moksha, there is no distinction between Jivas. Yes, they are distinct, but as a Swarupam, everybody has the same Bhagavat Rupam there in Vaikuntham. And of course, Ishvara is different from these Jivas, because even as Advaita does not say Ishvara and Jiva are one and the same. The Swarupa, as consciousness, they are one and the same. But once you take all the other qualities, like Sarvajnaha, Sarva Shaktaha, Sarva Vyapinla, then Ishvara is obviously infinitely greater than Jiva. So when you take all the qualities of, if you take only the essence, Swarupam, Jiva and Ishvara as the same Swarupam of consciousness is what Advaitam says. See? So nobody ever says that we are Bhagavan ourselves. Our Swarupa is Chaitanyam and Krishna Swarupam is Chaitanyam. As Chaitanyam, we are one. So here, our Prakrti is Jadam. It has two powers, Avaranam, that which covers consciousness. And because of that, it works as Avidya. Avidya na vidyate. I am not able to know consciousness. It's called Avidya. Why am I not able to know consciousness? Nature. You see, that's how it's an inner nature. And until I overcome that nature, until I transcend that nature, I cannot realize my true self. That is our. And then Ishvara has taken one Shakti of nature. And Ishvara's nature is called Maya. And that nature which afflicts Jiva and hence gives Avidya or results in Avidya, which means Jiva does not either know its own Swarupa properly or it does not know Ishvara Swarupa properly. So both are hidden by Avidya. And the same Jada Shakti of Prakrti, when it is taken by our Bhagavan, is the cause of this universe, sustenance, dissolution, and the creation of this universe. So it is called Maya. You see? And when Bhagavan says, Mama Maya Duratyaya, it means my Maya is very deep. it includes avidya also. So depending on the context, we need to extend it or reduce it. And then we say, this is the same thing which we just discussed, that Prakrti, when it is involved with Ishwara, is the cause of the universe. When Prakrti is inflicting its power onto Jiva, then another cycle there, which is birth, life, death, birth, life, death cycle for the Jiva, right? And that's what we saw. And then we'll jump to the Sloka, which says, this is this avidya, because finally the end of Sankhyayoga is vidya only, para-vidya. So it is not universe knowledge alone is not the purpose. The grandest param labham of Sankhyayoga is not to understand universe. It is to realize myself and realize Ishwara's swarupa. And so here our Sloka says that this avidya subjects the jiva to repeated births and deaths. So when you say Bhagavan, it's a very unfair word. Bhagavan is not compassionate. Deep inside, Bhagavan has embedded that Anandam in us. So he has done his job of design well. And it is only up to us to realize our true nature is not samsara. So Bhagavan by design could have made us eternally bound by samsara. By nature, he didn't do that. Kripa Bhagavan. Only people who are lazy not to go in the spiritual path, inquire and realize their self only can say things like that. Bhagavan has very clearly ensured that the jiva, who is also eternal, is consciousness, sat, chit, and jiva has a little anandam there, no doubt about it. And Bhagavan has ensured that. And Bhagavan has ensured an eternal relationship between us and him. So he has ensured all that. If we find pain in this world, now very good. Use it as a way to withdraw inward and see and realize what my real swarupa is. Bhagavan has ensured that. So there is, Bhagavan is the most compassionate, because as jiva, he didn't create us in the sense that it was not, but it was designed in such a way that we are all consciousness, and deep inside we have that relationship with Paramatma, and hence attain Anandam. So adalla 100% true. And so he says, it is this Prakrti in form of avidya which makes the jiva relate to jadam and get entangled there and subjects to repeated birth and death. Because I think I am the body. Bhagavan is not punishing us with another birth. Bhagavan is only allowing us to choose, because I am so obsessed with the idea that I am the body, that I can't live without this body now, because I think I am the body. So Bhagavan says, continue. See, it's I who want this body. Bhagavan is not forcing it on. Bhagavan says, the moment you are willing to let go of all this, come, Anandam is waiting for you in my feet, come. And so since the jiva wants the body, it is searching for its own nature's infilling in form of a body. So depending on its nature, it keeps on getting the body after body. That's what it is said. Samsritihi, which is repeated births and deaths, not because of punishment. It is because this is what we want. You see, that's what we want. But we can't do the way we want. You see, I may want to be, because I have a dog tendency, the next janma I may want to be the king of all dogs. But that Bhagavan says depends on your papa punya. Your tendency is to become a dog, fine. If you are a very punyatma dog, then you will be born in a very high millionaire's pet, you see. You will be taken care, there will be shampoo for you, there will be the best dog food for you, all that. But if you don't have that punya palan, Bhagavan says, then what I will make you become is, I will actually make you a street dog and put all these problems. If you have divinity, and you want to be in a kshetra, I choose to be a dog in the streets of Sri Lanka. I choose to be a dog in the streets of Vrindavan. Adu Papa Punya, Adu Bhagya. So I don't mix that with this, you see. And so here, it is because of this Papa Punya and my own nature, Swabhavam, Karma, right? In the right column. You keep listening to these three words again and again. These are the three servants of Bhagavan, which executes the work of Prakrti. So karma means this is your papa punya, you have a quotient. Swabhavam means the nature which I have developed, forgetting my true intrinsic state, which is Chaitanya. This is where Dvaita philosophy fundamentally differs from Visishtadvaita and Advaita. As per Dvaita philosophy, your intrinsic nature is unchangeable. You see, if you are, and you may be a human body, but deep inside your intrinsic nature could be something else. And even when you are completely, liberated, even in Vaikuntha, you have to take only that your true intrinsic nature form you have to take there. And you are distinct from all the other jivas in Vaikuntha. That's the difference. And they have their strong logic. As I said, everything is based on Vedic logic. So nothing is fancied. Adukku strong logic. And what Visishtadvaita says, they have a strong logic. What Advaita says, they have a strong logic based on Vedas. And so we can't say it is wrong, it is right, because all the three are existing now, and it will continue to exist till the end of eternity. So nobody has ever come to a conclusion finally. And that is how Bhagavan is, that's how Bhagavan's Vedas are. It is so deep that even Mahatmas choose to differ from each other. Now imagine, you see, all Avatar Purushas. And that is the beauty of this avidya subjects the jiva to repeated births and deaths because karma. And karma is because because I am the doer, I am aham karta. And I want the fruits of my karma. I am the bhakta. These two bind this jiva completely to karma. Once it says, I am the karta, Bhagavan says, so be it. That's why Bhagavan is called Sarva Karma Phala Pradhanam. If you say Naham Karta, Naham Bhakta, Bhagavan, for your Aradhanartham, for your Kainkarya, I am doing this work, whatever work, whether it is office work or whether it is my hobby work or whether it is puja. If I do it in the spirit of Naham Karta, that I am doing it as your Ajna Paripalanam. So I don't want any of these fruits. The notion of I am the Bhakta is what I'm saying. I don't want the fruits offered to Bhagavan. Then that portion of karma is not attached to me, which means I don't have to carry it forward. I am not indebted because of my attachment to karma makes me bound. And my attachment to karma is because of the desire of the fruits. Nobody desires karma. Everybody has to be just as they are. You see, it's because of the desire of the fruits that I'm impelled into that karma. And the desire of that fruit is because of avidya. Now you see the whole thing, right? So it is because of that that we go through all these cycles of birth and death, etc. And so that is why Bhagavan, out of his tremendous compassion, says, "Are give sarva dharma mamekam sharanam vrajaha," means it doesn't mean you drop all karma. You say you do all the karma for my sake. You drop all the desire for fruits of the karma. Just do the karma, Bhagavat Aradhana Rupam, Bhagavat Kaikarya Rupam, you do it. And leave it to me. Whether Papa or Punya, why do you worry? I will take care of it. You see. And you shall attain me alone. Because you are doing it for me, I shall do this for you. What? Removing your avidya, I will do. If you think all the karma I am doing, then I can't help you. Because you don't want my help. You trust your karma. You trust your jada karmas pala more than me, who is Chaitanya, your well-wisher, your Suhrit. You see, Bhagavan is willing to help. We don't want it. We are refusing it. Why? We think I will manage. I can take care of this karma. Whatever happens, I will see. And Bhagavan, even when he is giving a helping hand, is refused by us. So Bhagavan, out of his tremendous kripa, says, I am giving a hand to everybody, irrespective of where you are born, in what family you are born, what tradition you are born. Bhagavan is common. It does not matter whether we are a Hindu or a non-Hindu. Krishna is Krishna for everybody. Even if they call him by a different name, Krishna knows they are calling only him. So he is ready to support, help, take us across. But who wants it? We don't have faith in his kripa. When the mother says, today you are hungry, let me cook. Aha, Neelam cook panna matte naane paathu. You know, what can the mother do? She is ready to help. She is ready to do. But then the child says, no, I don't want it. Then the mother waits. Why? Because that's the respect a parent has on the child, to make it as a choice to come to the parent rather than force. Why? And that is why Bhagavan is waiting. So here we are subjecting that avidya or Prakrti, the avidya side of Prakrti, subjects the jiva to repeated births and deaths even though Nirvritatmana, he is free from all these. Consciousness is like Suryan Mari, Jal Jal Jal. It cannot be actually enveloped by darkness. It cannot be dependent on all this. It is just Anandam in itself. But unfortunately, it is forgotten because of this fancy, because of the lack of vivekam and getting confused between Prakrti and Purusha. It's all because of Jnana. You see, we think everything's act in only. The grandest thing to acquire is knowledge. You see, and the grandest thing to live by is the experiential knowledge. All it takes for us to be freed from samsara is jnana, and that jnana comes only from bhakti, and that bhakti comes only from satsanga, and that satsanga comes only from Bhagavat Kripa. So do something which can get Bhagavat Kripa. Adhikda we chant, we read Bhagavatam, we do puja, yalla Bhagavat Kripa, so that we can get rid of this chain of bondage. And so it all happens because of lack of wisdom. And then it is said, Karya Karna Kartrutve Hetuhu Prakrti Ruchyate Purushaha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktritve Hetu Ruchyate. Just to Ahankara has two parts of it. What are the two parts? I am the doer, and the I am with either activity or the fruit of the activity is what is called Ahankara. The I am part of it is beautiful, called Purusha, because this won't say I am. The table won't say I want to be the one to hold this, notes today. It won't say. Why? It doesn't have any chaitanyam. So if you see, Adan the tangling. I am the Bhokta, I am part of it is beautiful. It is what is Jiva. Because that which is Jadam cannot say I am Karta, I am Bhokta. It's only the Jiva, because the Jiva is Chaitanyam, the Jiva is able to start right. I am, Aham Karta. The moment you attach a Karta and a Bhokta, then you are tangled. You see, for a knot to happen, you need to have two threads which are different. The same thread you don't need to knot. Two threads of different nature needs to be entangled. One thread is Chaitanyam. Which is the Chaitanyam? I am. Only I can say I am. And then the Jadam is Karta, which karma order you got mixed up. Then what happens? Entangled. And the moment you say I am the Karta, automatically I am the Bhokta will come in. I am the Karta, I am the Bhokta. So within that knot of Chaitanyam and Prakrti, tangled Ahankara. You see, they say, I am the enjoyer is closer to Chaitanya. Why? Because it comes to, I am the enjoyer, it comes closer to Chaitanyam. It ends in Chaitanyam. When you say, I am the doer, it ends in a transformation of things happening outside. So they, Suma for resolving that vector, they say that Bhokta is attributed to Jiva and the Karta is attributed to Prakrti. Why? Because nature of Prakrti is change, transformation, etc. Vikara. And any act will lead to a change. That's what we say act. When somebody says, I took this and kept it back, act we don't. When you take it and move it here, there is a change somewhere. And so I told you there are 4 types of activity. So anything which is changing is Prakrti. And anything which is Chaitanyam is Jiva. And so the same Ahankara was resolved just for the sake of resolving. Category Vasan. So they said Bhokta side of it is Jiva and the Karta side of it is Prakrti. So Ahankara means I am is the Chaitanyam part of it. And I am the doer is the doer and I am the enjoyer. Doer and enjoyer are what is called as Prakrti. You see. And these two are somehow Chit Jada Granthi. Adhikda Ahankara. And we are going to talk about what Ahankara means as a principle. You see. And so Chit Jada Granthi, the Ahankara, it is a tangling of Chaitanyam and Prakrti. And now Devabhuti is asking Prakrti Purusashyapi Lakshanam Purushottama. Purushan Prakrti la sonna odane Purushottama anta. that you are not a Purusha, you are the Lord of all Purushas, the final refuge of all Purushas, so he is called Purushottama. That's why in Bhagavad Gita also, the chapter is called Purushottama Yoga, to distinctly show the difference between all the Jivas, Prakrti and Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Uttama Purushastu Anyaha anta. Yenna soliko Jiva alla. Bhagavan dan, Jivan dan. Bhagavan himself said. Bruhi karanayo rasyaha sada satchayadatmakam. Please tell me about Ishwara and his Prakrti, and tell also Sat Asat. Since we are all reading Bhagavatam, wherever Sat Asat comes, if it is to do with creation and universe, Sat means that which is manifested universe. Manifested universe means that universe which is perceivable by the five senses is called manifest. That which is not perceivable by the five senses of perception is called unmanifest or abhyaktam. So Sat abdina, that which can be seen, smelled, tasted, touched and heard. Ella Sat, part of the universe. Asatna, the same manifested universe which is in the effect form, its cause, which is not yet manifested, is called Asat. Unfortunately, people who don't know the context may actually translate it as Satna exists, Asatna not exists. Because there was the Vedic Suktam, Nasadiya Suktam, which was horribly mauled by complete mistaken translation. So when earlier, about 20-30 years back, it was read, it says the time when existence wasn't there and non-existence wasn't there. And it didn't make sense, and I was surprised. And then I realized, no sadasi, na sadasi tadanim, that is not the meaning. You see? So depending on the context, if they are talking about reality, Sat means existence, Asat means non-existence. If they are talking about the universe, Sat means manifested universe. Why? This is a technical vision. Pramana lakshana abhyam abhin solru. Satna irukune, how do you know it is there? Na? I says pramana, I am able to see it, and what I see as lakshana, like water has taste as its lakshana. So I know it. You see, so how do I perceive things, cognize things? Simpler and what is cognizable, what is not cognizable. If there is a means for knowledge to cognize it, and two, if there are characteristics of that thing, it is cognizable. Finish. You see, if only characteristic, how can you cognize it? You see. So even things like fear, worry, etc. has characteristics inside. Why? As an anubhava satyam, I know it. I may not be able to explain it. I have undergone an emotion called fear. You have undergone an emotion called fear. Can you see how beautiful this Chaitanyam is? That which I can't explain, since I underwent, and the same emotion you underwent, somehow we both know we are referring to that same emotion by just a word. There is nothing else in that word. Fear. Can I explain fear? You may tell me a palpitation, sweating. It can come for all other things also. That emotion called fear is very abstract. It is very personal, subjective. I have no idea if you have actually had that fear. But when I say fear, that word fear, and the shabda dike shakti irka, and it is actually denoting a very abstract emotion which can never be exhibited, you see, because it is deep inside. Yet I understand it, you understand. The people have said words ke shabda shakti irka. So here, what he is saying is that we have these Sat, Asat. Sat is that which is manifested. That which is manifested is that which has Pramanam. Pramanam means of valid knowledge. I know that there is a tree out there because I see it. I know that this rose is smelling well because I smell it. So there is a Pramanam called my olfactory sense, my sight, sense of sight. And there is a Lakshanam also. What is the Lakshanam? The rose has the Lakshanam of the rose smell, you see. And the tree has the Lakshanam or characteristics of being green and being a tree, you see. And so since these two are there, I am able to cognize. What I can cognize, I call Sat. And asatna, unmanifested, which means I still can know about it, but I can't see it with my five senses. How do I know about it? Either I have to infer or I have to look at shastras to get that knowledge. So I have a valid means of knowledge. What is that? Shastras. I am not able to see it. I am not able to infer it, but shastras tell me. That's why you need the third means of knowledge called shastras for us to understand things which are not immediately apparent to the faculty of my intellect or my five senses. Right. So please, bruhi karanayo rasya sadasaccha yadatmakam. So he's saying stula and sukshmama. These are words you should know. Stula means manifested. Stula means physically there, which means I can know by my five senses. Na stulam. See? And sukshma means that which is not manifested, that which is subtle, that which cannot be grabbed by my five senses is called sukshmam. Always stulam is karyam, sukshmam is karanam. And all these are some basic building blocks we should keep in our mind so that we can understand this better. And tell me about that Prakrti and the Purusha. And our Devahuti asks this, and Bhagavan immediately starts explaining. Tatra Prakritim Lakshayati Yattat Trigunam Avyaktam Nityam Sat Sadatmakam Sat Asadatmakam Pradhanam Prakritim Prahuhu Avishesham Visheshavat. Now you have to understand one thing. When I'm writing a poetry, I can keep putting a lot of adjectives to decorate it. You see, if it is literature, the beauty of literature is extra words. But when you're talking tattvam, even if you put an extra tu or cha, we need to explain why I can't explain without that word. You have to explain. When you are talking about philosophy, when you are talking about such principles, every word should have value. If it does not value, don't put. And the sad day I will show you how sharp they are in putting values. And there was this incredible intelligent person called Bertrand Russell. And he says when you're talking about language and when you're talking about principles, there has to be exactness of expression and the precision of thought. You see, both have to be there. And precision of thought should be expressed with exactness, you see. And that is what our rishis, Vedavyasa Bhagavan, that is what Kapilavasudeva Bhagavan, that is what all our Mahatmas do. Our Madhura Gita, either it will add a rasa or it will explain something which normally we can't understand. Rasa markum, illana tattva markum. So here, our Prakrti is explained by Bhagavan. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Who can explain his power but Bhagavan? So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Shri is the power of Bhagavan. So Prakrti Sahita Bhagavan Uvacha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Yattat Trigunam Abhyaktam Nityam Sat Asat Atmakam Pradhanam Prakritim Prabhu Avishesham Visheshavati. You see. Sumala he didn't add. When you say characteristics, it means it should exactly define. That whole community of characteristics should exactly define what Prakriti is, separated from non-Prakritis. Okay. And it should not be added frivolously. It should not be there because I want the meter to be correct, so I add some more. And that is the beauty here. Only Sridhara Swami can explain all that. Yattat trigunam abhyaktam nityam sat asadatmakam pradhanam prakritim prahu avishesham visheshavat tatra prakritim lakshayati. Now our Sridhara Swami is telling about Prakrti. Yat pradhanam tad eva prakritim aprahu. Now when I say Prakrti, it means pradhanam. Why should he now use a synonym there? Because in the non-Vedic Sankhya, where they don't accept Ishwara, this whole nature is called Pradhanam. You know why it's called Pradhanam? Pradhanam means prime. That's why we call Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri and so on. So Pradhanam means it is the root cause of nature. And they dispelled totally, they displaced Purusha as something which is not controlling Pradhanam at all. Either the Purusha distances himself away from Pradhanam or is caught by Pradhanam. Pradhanam is independent. So Sankhya people who are not as per Bhagavatam also tell Purusha can free himself. But they don't say Ishwara, his Shakti is Pradhanam, they won't say. Na? So here he's saying Prakrti na Pradhanam, Prakrti na nature. Nature cannot exist on its own. It is relative. So when you say nature is anger, whose nature? You have to ask. Na? Anger cannot exist somewhere apart from the person on which the nature expresses itself. Na? So it is very beautiful. He says, Yattat Trigunam Avyaktam Nityam Sadasatmaka Pradhanam Prakriti. It is that Prakriti which is also called Pradhanam. And what it means is, though you say the prime cause of all this world is nature, Pradhanam, that is Prakriti. Prakriti na nature. Whose nature? Ishwara's nature. Whose power it is? Ishwara's power. So he used the word Pradhanam. And Yet Pradhanam tadeva Prakriti ahu. That which people call as Pradhanam, don't understand that to be Prakriti. Don't mistake it to be. Don't say my Pradhanam exists apart from this Prakriti. Both are same. So that which you call Pradhanam, we are referring to as Prakriti here because our definition is even better here. Because Prakriti is totally dependent on the Shaktiman, which is Ishwara. Prakriti cannot exist on its own. Nature cannot exist on its own. Even in our day-to-day verbiage, when we say that is the nature, whose nature? So which nature are we talking? Whose nature are we talking? So nature has to be completely dependent on a conscious entity to express itself or to even be there. So here, Kim Tat Pradhanam. What is that Pradhanam? He says, Svato Avisesham. Visheshavati Visheshanam Ashraya. This Pradhanam in itself is not having any Vishesham. Vishesham does not have any qualities. Enna Vishesham? Enna quality? Or special quality than a Vishesham. Enna Vishesham niki? What is special today? We say. So Pradhanam by itself, as the potency of this universe, the potential Shakti of this universe, let me put that way, in itself has no Vishesham. But it is the Ashraya. It is the actual substratum for all the other Vishesham. Yalla Visheshatuku is not substratum. Why? Now Mahat is going to come, Ahankara is going to come, 5 elements are going to come, mind is going to come, Buddhi is going to come, Chittam is going to come, Ahankara is going to come, 24 varieties varapurudana. For all that, this is the Adharam. It is the Ashrayam. This is the final Ashraya for all that. So here he is saying, Svato Avisheshaha. But Vishesham. It has all the Visheshams Adharam. Visheshavat Avishesham. Amna enna arthana? Simple example given by most of the Mahatmas is, a tree has a lot of Vishesham, right? Does it not have Vishesham? Stem is different. Leaf is different, right? Fruits are different, flowers are different. Fruits have smell and taste, flower has smell primarily, and the stem has a proper form, color, etc. So there is a Vishesham in the tree. But what is the Ashrayam for the tree? How is this tree coming into place? The basic Ashrayam for the tree is its seed. When you take a small seed, is there any Vishesham in the seed? The seed just has the tree's material in it. Call it DNA or whatever. And all this material differentiates itself as the tree and becomes Vishesham. As a seed, it is homogeneous. Seed, when you cut the seed and see, especially small seeds, you have the same type of a material as it were there. You don't see a flower, the flower part of the seed, fruit part of the seed, stem part of the seed, leaf part of the seed, but that seed is the Ashrayam for all the Vishesham. Bijas and Puraha. So that Bijam, that seed for these 24 types of Visheshams is what is called Pradhanam. You get this? Adanalda the avyaktam. Vishesham illanale, I can't pinpoint it with my sense organs. So svato avishesham, visheshavati visheshananam ashraya tarhi kim brahma? Oh, is it Brahman then? Naisa, like all our other non-Vedic, Sankhya people say, Adamba nanu solra, avishesham na, nirvishesham, you said Brahma is nirvishesham na. So, is it Brahman? Is what they ask. He says, no, there is no vishesham in it, but there is gunam in it. Seed does not have distinctive features of stem, leaf, etc. Guna irukano, and the genetic material irukano, which is what is going to make it as a tree. Seed is not nothing. Tree didn't come from nothing. It came from something which had gunam. And so, even though Pradhanam has no visheshams, distinctive features, vishesham na feature, but it has quality. Moon quality. Enna sattvam rajas. So he's saying, Tari kim Brahma na trigunam. Adinaladan the word trigunam. Enna, the whole idea of Sankhya is to actually separate the category and show. So Prakrti has to be clearly shown. Purusha has to be clearly shown. It can't be a cyclical reference. That's a big problem in psychology. So when you say, I am sitting on a chair, where is the chair? Under me. I am referred to that, that is referred to me. Most of non-Vedic philosophies will end up in cyclical references if you don't understand it properly. Because if one is the reference for other, cyclical. But in Sankhya system, thankfully, consciousness, we are very clearly differentiating without any cyclical references. It is saying, Trigunam, Avyaktam, Tarhi kim Brahma, na Trigunam. Because Brahma does not have, Brahmam does not have Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas. But Prakriti has it. That's the differentiation. You see, it has Trigunatmikam. Maya tu Trigunatmikam Ronlia. Durato Yati Mam Yitva Vasudevo Guru Mama. So my Guru is Vasudeva. He completely dispels that Maya, which is Trigunatmikam, which is what we call Prakriti, which is what we call Pradhanam. It has Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas. And since the seed has Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas, everything which manifested from the seed will also have these three gunas. Whether it is the Jada Prakriti outside or the Jada Prakriti inside. Outside Prakriti is called external nature. It's called physical nature. And then there is a Prakriti inside, which is called my inner nature. That's why we call both as nature. When you say his nature, very angry person, sir. Rajasamdra nature is there in his manasu, buddhi, ahankaram, and chittam. And when you say by nature is very good, sir. Sattvikam is the predominant nature inside. And the same nature, we actually put it for space, we put it for time, we put it for objects, we put it for everything. Everything. Why? Because the seed from which it came had these three. So anything which comes from that seed will have all the three. Which means if you have to burn the seed, you have to transcend all the three. And that's why Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas and Ragunangalam Thandi Devi. Only then you can transcend Prakriti, you can transcend nature. How do you get to that? That's why sounds are Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas. Sweet sound is Sattvam. Irritating sound is, Rajasam. And that sound which is very monotonous is Tamasam. But Mahamantram is Devikam. Why? Because it will help you to transcend these three sounds. And so there is nature everywhere. And nature means three types. And Trigunatmikam. Everything you can think of is all Trigunatmikam except Jivan, Ishwaran, because both are not Jadam, both are not Prakriti. Anything which is Jadam, anything which is nature will always have these three qualities. Why? Because the seed gave rise to the tree, and that genetic material in the seed has only differentiated itself. So if you take a leaf of a tree, a good botanist can clearly say this belongs to that seed. Why? Because the same material has become the leaf. If he takes a small cell, even in the bark, etc., he can relate it to the seed. The seed is present everywhere in the tree. Amulagram rasam tishtane. That rasam came from seed only. So here he is saying Trigunam. And then avyaktam. Then they said, okay, you say Pradhanam. Why can't it be Mahadadibihi? You say there is Mahat, and I will come to what Mahat is. What if it's all Mahat, Ahankaram, all the Panchabhudam? Just make it. Na? Already manifested universe, you say, na, that's Prakrti. Why are you now saying there is something which is Avyaktam? Abhinna, he is saying, no, Avyaktam Akaryam. As Pradhanam, it is not having any, it is not a result. It is not a Karyam. Adu Karanam. Tree is the effect and the seed is the cause. So there is a distinct difference between the cause and the effect here. Right? I can show the seed and then the seed became the tree. Now the question they are asking is, why you say seed tree and tree is there? Ada seed. You say, no. This is only Karyam. But that tree came from a seed. I want to define that also because it's also a part of this evolution of this universe. And so they said, is it Mahadadibihi, Mahatatvadibihi? He says, no, because Akaryam. Why? It is Avyaktam. And Mahat, etc. are Karyam. And once you say Karyam, it is not eternal. You see, Karyam nale, it is not eternal. If something is caused and it has become an effect, effect can never be permanent. And effect finding its way back to the cause is called nasam. You get this? When you say destroy, no, nothing is destroyed. Nothing can be negated, nothing can be added. You see, there is a conservation of everything. When you say a pot is destroyed, pot was mud. When it destroyed, it went back to mud. When an effect which is temporarily there goes and abides in its cause, it's called nasam. So manasinu solrala, manonasam enartham. Manas is this very strange shakti in the presence of Atmaswarupam. Manonasam nana, it went back to that Atmaswarupam. You see? And so nasam no onnum kadayave kadayade. That which exists always exists. That which doesn't exist never exists. So when there is some temporary appearance of an existence, it means one point of time it was the cause, at one point of time it shall go back to the cause. So ingalaga avyaktam. Since it is avyaktam, he is saying akaryam. It is not mahat, etc. because this is not the effect, it is the cause for all these effects. And so it is avyaktam. It is not manifest. Effects are all manifest, cause is not. Kim Kaladi, is this then time? Oh, beautiful question. Is nature time? No, you have to separate time and nature now. Time, sir. It's all time. That's what we say. The time came, Big Bang happened, all this happened, and then time. So he's asking Kim Kaladi, na sad asadatmakam karya karana rupam. Time has no cause and effect separation. But Prakrti exists in a cause and an effect complex. Time it is just a flow. That's all. It has no cause and effect in rendu rupam. Time does not have cause and effect rupam. Time is a constant flow. And so he's saying it's not kalam also. Kim jivaha prakriti? Finally they asked. Jivan ha prakriti. No. Jivan is conscious, Prakrti is jadam. And so he's saying, not all this. So every word in this is defining Prakrti so that we can clearly see Prakrti as different from other things which will come to our knowledge. That is what is called Sankhya. Everything is defined. And why I am explaining all the technicalities is Sridhara Swami, our value for every word of Bhagavatam. And that to Bhagavatam, Pratipadam, Abadhavatyapi, Bhagavan forbears na avan kripa indiriyada. Because even if you change one word here, it won't define anything properly. And Bhagavan says, read Bhagavatam whichever way you want to, I'll be very happy with you. Now that shows the kripa of Bhagavan also. Now, Shri Bhagavan uvacha yattad trigunam abhyaktam nityam sat asadatmakam pradhanam prakritim prahu avishesham visheshavat. So Prakrti Cause and effect. As cause, it's unmanifest. As an effect, it has 24 categories. It is eternal. Just like how Purusha is eternal, Purusha's Shakti is also eternal. Then in Bhishma Stuti, we say, Kvachit Vihartam. And at times, the power of Bhagavan manifests as universe. After some time, Bhagavan takes back as unmanifest. And I gave you an example. When I am a good singer, the power and talent of mine to sing, I may choose to manifest it as a song when I choose to. And when I choose to stop all the song power, etc., what happens? It comes back to me, the powerful person, and lays in its potential form. And the potential and kinetics are only, adha vyaktam, avyaktam. So when a spring is pressed, does it have energy? It does not look so, but potential is there. The moment you release it, then you see all these balls jumping up, etc. And then Bhagavan has the power to again pull it back to his unmanifest form. So Abhyaktam means it is there inside Bhagavan as a potential power. Potential nale power nane. And the moment Bhagavan decides to create, the power of Bhagavan manifests outside in a proper evolution. It starts with first in the power, then next, other than 24 categories. And this 24 categories is what is called as Prakrti. These 24 categories is also called as Sargam. That's why the third canto, since it talks more about these 24 fundamental categories, is the primary Srishti of Bhagavan. And the examples we used are Lego blocks, 24 types of Lego blocks, so that you can make all the permutation combination to make varieties outside. The first 24 types of Lego blocks or the 24 categories of Prakrti, Bhagavan created all that as a principle, gave it to Brahmaji. That's handshake. Even in IT, they use the word handshake. When two systems have to transfer data, they say, let's do an handshake program here. And so this is completely transferred to the other person, we say handshake. And Bhagavan did Karasparshaha. He touched the hand of our Brahmaji and said, no, you create. I have given you all the blocks. Like a father giving the child varieties of blocks and a guidebook to assemble Legos. Our Bhagavan gave all the 24 types of Lego blocks to our Brahmaji. And then he created 84 lakh types of combinations. To this day, he is doing that. Why? Adu Visargam. Primary Srishti is the Srishti of all the building blocks of this universe, inside, outside, everything. And secondary Srishti is the permutation combination of these 24 principles. Adu Visargam. So that is why our Bhagavan, Bhagavatam, after the second canto, Sridhara Swami says, third canto talks about Sargam. Fourth canto talks about Visargam. Fifth canto talks about Sthanam. Sixth canto talks about Poshanam. Seventh, Poshanam. And then seventh talks about Manvantara, Ushaya, Utaya, which is Uti, and which is Karma Vasana, and like that. So, third canto primarily talks about this 24 tattvams. So, Sargam ne per on the canto. Sargam. And generally, Sargam means Srishti. So, a poet also creates literature. That is his universe. Universe of ideas, words, bhavas. At times, even chapters are called Sargam. In the Sargatland, the Sargatland, and Adur Srishti Pandra. Yarna, poet as a literary Brahma, literally makes this wonderful Srishti of a Kavya. Adinale, Modal Sarga, Randa Sarga, Muna Sarga. And Adi Kaviya Arkardunala, the Adi Srishti Arkardunali, Ramayana has Sargam. And so we saw this. So let's go to the next. And then comes the 25 categories. Panchavihi, Panchavir Brahma, Chaturbihi, Dashavistada, Etachatuhu Vimshatikam, Ganam Prada, Anikam Viduhu, the aggregate of 24 categories. Is what is called as evolute of Pradhana. Evolute, the one which is the result of the evolution of Pradhana is called evolute. Pradhanikam Viduhu. And now he is going to start counting. 24. Total 24 he is going to count. And that whole 24 evolutes, the aggregate of the 24 evolutes is what is called as the effectual form of Pradhanam. Remember, we said Pradhanam is both in form of cause and effect. The cause is unmanifest, Pradhanam. And the effect is what we see. You see, when you suddenly see a tree in your garden, you don't see the seed from which the tree came. But shastras tell you that that tree didn't come just like that, it came from the seed. And generally, the problem of chicken or egg, seed or the tree, is answered very nicely by this Vedanta. Which came first, tree or the seed? It is eternally coming. So there is no start and end to it. The only way out of it is you ask yourself, who is asking this question from inside? The entire Prakrti is thrown out. Only Purusha remains. Then all this riddle will be solved. Bhagavan has put the riddle of chicken or the egg not to figure out the riddle, but to actually riddle you with the question, who is asking this riddle? Who is pondering on the riddle? Shastra Yoni. The Shastra, my Guru is telling me, I am listening. The Guru kitende again the Vardu Abdina Chaitanya. In the Shastra, how come I am listening to the Shastra and I am getting all this understanding inside the cat or consciousness? So, and the whole riddle of chicken or the egg is solved when you understand this. First of all, in the external plane, chicken, egg, this is eternal. You say, universal. And finally, we have to ask the question, who is the witness to all this chicken or egg, or this entire process? Who is pondering over this? And then the moment you ask that question, riddle is solved. Neither chicken nor egg. And this is Chaitanya, which is Adhidan, the riddle. The riddle is there only for us to realize ourselves, not to figure out that. Okay. And so here, our 24 categories, he has very beautifully showed. And it's an evolute of Pradhana. Evolute means Karya Rupam. And that is the reason we actually say Pradhana Karyatmakam Brahma Vidhu. Our Shukamuni is adding one word, Brahman, because without consciousness, all this cannot happen. Yata yeta chidatmakam solrong. So when that seed becomes this lovely tree, the seed is Pradhanam, tree is all these 24 categories of all these principles in this universe. He says these 24 category complex is Pradhana Karyatmaka Brahman. Karya Brahman. It is the Pradhana Karyatmaka Brahman. So the 24 categories we already saw. We have the 5 gross elements. Akasham, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithivi, Binanji. They will define everything. Akasham in that. What is space? Abhina, proper definition of the space. Remember, once you have to define something, Pramana Lakshanabhyam. You have to tell what is the quality. You have to say with what means of knowledge you are going to identify it or perceive it or cognize it. Otherwise, it is not going to. So even if you ask Bhagavan, Lakshana Rikya Bhagavan, Janmadhyasya Yataha, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Lakshana. Pramanam na Brahma Sutram, Pramanam Vedam, Pramanam Upanishad, Pramanam Bhagavad Gita. You see. So you have a Pramana, you have a Lakshana. You see. And so here 5 gross elements, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithivi, Anjik. And that's how 5 manifested gross elements are shown here. And to actually understand these elements, what are their qualities? It's called Tanmatra. Tanmatra means these are the 5 subtle elements, or it also called 5 qualities of these elements. In the elements quality. Akasha has only Shabdam as the quality. Vayu has both Shabda and Sparsha as quality. Agni has Shabda Sparsha Rupam as quality. Water has Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa as quality. And Prithivi has Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandham, all the 5 are there. That is what is the characteristic. So if you want to say defining characteristic of a Prithvi, that element which has Gandham as its unique quality is Prithvi. Now you don't have to actually tell anything more because none of the other elements have that quality. But when it comes to water, little problem. Why? Because Prithvi also has Rasa. Water also has Rasa. So you have to say that which has Rasa as its defining element and defining quality, but does not have Gandham. Abdina, you different. Careful. People should not get confused. So the words, exactness of expression and precision of thought is found its pinnacle in our Sankhya and Tarka Shastra. They define perfect, which you'll see this Saturday as I promised. It's a good chance for me to also struggle with it. The 4 internal organs are Chittam, Buddhi, Manas, Ahankar. What are all these 4? Prakrti, Jadam. Customer mind, Jadam. Remember that. Jadam. Ahankaram, Mahajadam. And Chittam is Jadam. Buddhi is Jadam. Ellam Jadam. They are all very good instruments. We need it. Until we realize we have to take care of. Like we take care of the body. Body is made of all these. So remember what we discussed yesterday if you were there. The physical body is made of this, this area. You see. This is what we call as Stula Shariram. Let us call it as physical body. All this is what we call as Sukshma Shariram or astral body. Body nale jada. You see. And let's go back. Okay. So the 5 subtle elements are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandham. Now you see how beautifully Bhagavan has created. He has created 5 manifested Mahabhutam. So Pancha Bhutam. And the intermixture or the complex nature of the intermixing of all this Pancha Bhutam is called Pancha Bhautikam. So this whole world is made of all these 5 elements. And the easiest or practical way of looking at this is for us spiritually is when we are attracted by something, when we are attracted by something, or when you are attracted to some jadam, whether it is an object or whether it is a body or whatever, easiest way to get out of the attraction is look at its elements. What is it made of? Akasa, Vayu, and water, Agni, Prithvi. We won't get attracted because finally elements nobody gets attracted. The same example I give is if you have tremendous temptation to have, say, gulab jamun, mind will work. Buddhi, what is this gulab jamun? Sugar. Suppose I give 1 kilo of sugar, would you be eating it every day? Hopefully not. And then you have milk powder, and then you have stove, heat, Agni. And then you have a little bit of oil, and then you have some other maida powder or whatever. But when you see gulab jamun, but when you see it as, what is this maida? Chakra, it is good to use this. It works actually. When we are attracted by an object, what is it finally? It is only all this. And so here it is a Panchabhautikam. If you want to not get attracted to some objects which are binding us, this is how you see Panchabhautikam. And 4 internal organs. And very beautifully 5 manifested elements. Each element has a defining characteristic. And the defining characteristic is received by 5 organs of perception. And the ears are Akasha conditioned by the small little receptor out here. And the tvak is all over the body. Sight is the small little pupil. Adana, organ of perception. And taste is jikhvagre, the tip of the tongue, receptors, the taste. And olfactory is tip of the nose. So, inga badam alvacha smell varat. Nasa gray, that is the place for the indriyas. And that is what is this 24 elements, 24 categories. This is the tree. Where did it come from? Bijasyankuraha. It came from this seed, which was not manifesting the differences of the different parts of the tree, but it came from a Sat, which is that genetic material of the tree, and the whole tree comes from it. You see? So that is how 24, and the 24 becomes Pradhanam. Pradhanam becomes the power of Purusha, and the Jiva actually belongs to Purusha, which is our Bhagavan Sri Krishna. But then it gets attached to the Prakrti and hence departs from its own Swarupam of being a part and parcel of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. All right. And then you have 5 organs of action. 5 organs of action: hands, feet, speech, excretion, and procreation. So you have this 5. Ella anjanja padachirukanga. You see, everything is ada panchikaranam. Ella anji. Even adu endrathu kuda correct ah 5 viral kuduthirukkom. 6 kudutha kuda confuse aidum. Yen 6வது viral. Ella anjanja irukradhanaala as humans can only understand all these principles. Na anjanji count. In the kaila you can do elements. In the kaila you can do subtle elements. In the kalla you can do organs of action. And on the kalla you can do gross elements. So kaila alaga organs of perception. Correct ah iradhu vechirukanga. Sila per extra or finger adu exception. And here Maha Bhutani Panchaiva Bhurapo Agnihi Marut Namaha Tan Matrani Chaha Tavantihi Gandhadini Matani Me. Bhagavan is saying, in my matham, opinion is the wrong translation. My matham, this is what is my philosophy. It is not my, this is what is my matham. This is my philosophy. No, so. Etat vivrunotihi mahabhutaniti tribihi. And in the next 3 slokas, he is telling about mahabhuta, etc. And so, tavanti panchaiva. Mahabhutani panchaiva. Panchan sonna porada. This is the precision of words and thoughts. Accuracy of expression. He is saying, mahabhutani panchaiva. It means it precludes or excludes a 6th possible element, and it also excludes any omission of one of the 5. You see, panchaiva, it's only 5. So tomorrow, if somebody says, I have found something new, I will bring it under the 5. Why Bhagavan has said? Electricity, Agni Lapod, you see, and you find some magnetism, you can push it in something inside. You see, in the Anjida. And so, Tan Matrani Chadavanti Gandhadini Mathani Te. And hence the number of subtle elements, Tan Matra, subtle elements, and subtle elements also means the quality which is inherent in the 5 elements. You know, in the creation is beautiful because we say it's all designed. So we say first Shabdam na modala vandhuda. And the Shabdata as Shabda became the cause for Akasham. Because Akasham has the quality of Shabda. So first comes the desire, then only an object comes, right? So we create not independently, but by Bhagavan's systemic karma, etc. We create a lot in the Kanavana. And in my dream, I created a lovely farm field, green field. How was this creation happening? Before I created the field which I am experiencing in the dream, I had the desire. I had this desire to be in a field. And the desire then became the field. So, if you understand that intuitively, you will understand this. First Shabda. Shabdam is the cause for Akasha, whose quality is Shabda. So first was the subtle desire, because remember, is the guiding principle in our Shastra. Subtle stuff is always the cause. That which is manifested and gross is always the effect. Always. Karma is subtle cause. And the body is the effect. Right? So in the body, I am able to infer a karma with the Vedas. You see. ஒருத்தருக்கு வந்து இப்ப பாடியில கொஞ்சம் எலிமெண்ட் இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோமே, சோ வி இன்ஃபர். இல்ல பாடியில நல்ல ஒரு ஷார்ப்னஸ் ஆஃப் இன்டெலெக்ட் இருக்குன்னா வி இன்ஃபர். ஓ புண்ணிய பலன். And so here, tan matrani chadavanti gandhadini matani me, he's saying number of subtle elements too is just the same. Why? Because anda kaska anda effect. You see. And see exactly 5 sense organs to actually see all the 5. That's how it has to be. Unless these 3 are inseparable. Scenery, seeing, seer has to be inseparable. In the moon, the whole thing is gone. Jnanam, Jnata, Jnatru. You see, object of knowledge, the actual act of knowing, or the power of knowledge, or whatever you call it, Jnana Shakti or Jnanam, which is knowledge, and the knower. If you take one off, can the other 2 exist independently? It needs a triangle for completion. Object of knowledge, knowledge, and the knower. All the 3 are inseparable. That's why object is there, Adi Bhautikam. Yeah. And there is a knower inside, and then there is an actual knowledge about it. You see. And so here, Bhagavan made everything 5 elements, and the 5 elements cause, and also his quality is this 5 gandhadi, tanmatra, which is Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandham. Balaga Shabdadini Solala Gandhadini, because that Gandham, which is the quality of earth, also has other 5 na. Adunala Gandhadini na apdi pinadile indhu Shabdadini na enga porudhu theriyadu. The moment I say Prithvi, Gandha aludane. So Gandham Prithvi na Gandhatoda serna nalu sendu. So generally, for example, the 5 brothers I say na, I can't say there is a room where only one brother stays. There is a room where my eldest brother with the next brother can go and discuss. Discussion room. First is the bedroom of the eldest brother. Second is the discussion room where 2 brothers come. Third is generally the outhouse where 3 brothers come and discuss. Dinner table, all the 5 brothers come. The 5th brother pair of potena, very beautifully in precision. If you are a Bhagavatana, the words we use need to be precise. You have to learn from that. But then, we are not we want to relish the path, we want to relish life. So our Swamiji enjoys precision of thought and exactness of expression. He really likes it. When you give the right word, he really likes it. Many times when you don't use the right word, he doesn't like it. So earlier days, people, when we say you tell something to one of us and we tell it to Swamiji, we were searching for the right word. We told Swamiji, it appears as if he didn't know and we only told him. The correct word is convey, a perfect word. You see, I have done my part of conveying what has been told. So whether he knows or not, all that is not questioned. So when we use the word, it has been conveyed. Swamiji was very happy. He said that's the exact word to be used. You see. So when he writes in Tamil also, on the words, it will be perfectly meaning everything. That we have to learn from Bhagavatam and the Bhashya. So very beautifully, Tanmat, Rasana. It is not dry Vedanta, which Bhagavatam is telling. It is Rasomaya Vedanta. Each time when we look at Panchatanmatra, all this Bhagavan has created, and what a wonderful painting he has sort of manifested in this canvas of universe is what we see now. So here Tanma Atrani Chadavanti Gandhadini Matani Me. And he's saying the Tanmatras are also 5, and we saw that. Indriyani Dasha Shrotram Tvag Drig Rasana Nasikaha Vakkarau Charano Medram Vayu Dashama Uchyate 10 Indriyas. Indriyas na senses of perception, that which serves as an input for us to perceive this world, and organs of action, that which does the action, which is impelled either by desire or by more benign intentions. 10 in number: auditory sense, tactile sense, sense of sight, sense of taste, olfactory sense, organ of speech, hands, feet, organ of generation, and organ of defecation. which is said to be 10th. So there are Payuhu Dashama Uchyate. There are 10 sense organs, 5 organs of perception and 5 organs of action. So when we say Sarvam Krishnarpanam nu sollum, what we need to do is to do Krishnarpanam of all these which has been given to me. Ellam Prakrti dana, Bhagavanoda Shakti dana. It belongs to him only. Apdi paathona bhakti becomes easy. Because the Lord of the Prakrti is Bhagavan. I am not all these. I am Jiva. But Bhagavan has somehow given me the trusteeship of eyes, nose, etc. What do? I use the funds in the trust for the objective of the trust only. I can't just fritter away in a period crime. So when you look at Bhakti and understand this, you understand Bhagavan has given his Shakti called the Prakrti and manifested 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action. And then he has given me 4 faculties of inner organs. When I am not all these, he has been given this to me so that I can offer it back to him. So when I think about Bhagavan, when I do vichara of Bhagavatam, or when I remember the kripa of Bhagavan, idallam chittam, buddhi, and manas. Ahankaram gardu Bhagavan arpanam mandradhukune. And some organs of actions has to be given rest. Adoda purpose. And some organs of action like walk has to be constantly employed in Bhagavan's kirtan, etc. Hence, karma karotu kaya. And when our Nalagubra and Manigriva are praying for Bhagavan, abdiya Sankhya tattva. Let my eyes see only sadhus. Let my ears listen only to your katha. Because I am clear as a jiva, I am not all this, but I have been given all this so that I can do bhakti, so that I can channelize it in the right direction. If I have to work, I do that for pranaposhanam, so that I can do my dharma of Bhagavata dharma. And I have to take care of my family so that I can understand what love is and understand what Krishna's love is. Without mother's love, how can we know what Krishna's love is? So we are trying to use it as a sample to understand Krishna's love. If there is a love between a husband and a wife, that is there for us to get a small sample of the love between the divine couple out there. When there is a love between a father and a son as a recipient or a giver, when you have a child and have so much love on the child, that is to remind us how much love Bhagavan has on us. When we taste the love of our parents showered on us, the concern they have on us, it is a sample for us to remember the amount of love Radha and Kandan and Tandai has on. So the whole universe, with all these 24 categories, including the 14 given to me, is not just to relish the remaining 10 outside, but also to channelize all that to Bhagavan Sri Krishna Charana. The 14 given to me, when I offer it to Bhagavan, it is called Ahankara Tyagam. The other 10 which happens to be added to me by whatever karma or whatever kripa, giving back to Bhagavan is called Mamakara Tyagam. What are we Tyagaming? We are Tyagaming only the mistaken, horrible notion it is mine and it is I. We are not giving anything. Bhagavan does not want anything which is ours. Bhagavan just is asking us, if you give what is not yours, you can enjoy Anandam, which is your true nature, and you can be with me. That's all he wants. Bali thought the whole Prapancham is his. Lokanam Ekam Ishwaran. Bhagavan came to clarify, how will Bhagavan show it? By showing he is the Prapancham. When he becomes Trivikrama, he is saying, I pervade the whole universe. It's all mine, you see. And to show Bali, you mistakenly, because of your Ahankara, Mahamkara, thought the 3 worlds is yours. I'm telling you, these 2 worlds are mine. To show it. And then Bali understood. And then finally he said, you have taken what is yours, but you left one, me. All that which is thought was mine, which is the 10, 5 subtle elements, 5 gross elements. Bhagavan Alana. Only the 14, which I thought is I. So our Bali immediately said, you measured the 14 lokas already, fine, very good. There is 14 in me, take that also. That is also yours. And what left was only Bali as a jiva, which is the eternal servant of Bhagavan. Bhagavan ended up serving Bali by being the Gadadhara and guarding Bali. So this is how Sankhya Tattva in Bhagavatam is going to give pushti to our path of bhakti with a clarity. I have not done Krishna any favor. He has done a great favor by giving all this, hoping it will be returned back to the right owner so that you can be free. If you keep taking care or thinking it is mine of somebody else's property, how can you be free? You see, Apo, you are waiting for a reparation, you see. But when you actually give back what is not yours back, it is nothing to do with just what I have outside. It's also to do with what I have as 14 inside. So I give everything back. To whom it really needs. To whom it really needs to go to. And that is what is called bhakti. Channelizing the 14 inside and the 10 outside, which the portion of the 10 outside which has been added to me, back to its original owner is bhakti. So ice, Nayanadiye, there is Anakaruneko, Shravanadiye, Sunagad. I give it back. What we have done is nyayam. But if we don't do either to support this or to directly do it. For example, I may have to see some friends outside or my boss or my subordinates in office, whatever. All that is to support my core clarity in purpose, which is all this 14 is for Bhagavan. That's why it's called Rishi Kesha. All these are called Rishi cups, the Indriyas. We have to give it back to him. Then we are free. That's how Sharanagati frees us. We are actually giving up a completely mistaken notion that this is mine and this is I. Rendun jadam. Jadata pudichi nenda kashtapadra. Jadata naam paathukrenda. Ni chaitanyam nimmadiya irundam Bhagavan is asking. He is asking to give up the misery only. He is not asking to give up. That misery becomes very precious. Jadam becomes very precious for us. Bhagavan says, what you think is precious is not. What you are really inside as Jiva, Chaitanya is precious. Don't hold on to Jadam and lose your Chaitanya. And so, Bhagavan is saying, give me everything back. Like Bali is asking us. I just gave you. You are just a caretaker. And you have to take care in line with the purpose for which it has been given to you. Trusteeship. And that is the reason why our Sankhya Tattva gives pushti to the final Dasamasya Vishuddhyartam. Anavasyama. Dasamasya Vishuddhyartam, to actually relish Krishna Katha, we need to get rid of all these small misnotions. Appadana full Rasikaha, Bhuri Bhavukaha, and we can listen. Shuddhyartam. And once there is Krishna Prema, Shuddhya idna avasya liyadala. Once there is Shuddha Krishna Prema, Dasamam. And once there is Shuddha Rasa Vihari Prema, first 34 chapters. And Vrindavana chapters. Maybe you add another 40, another 10 chapters till Brahmaragi. Rasa Vihari da venonna. Rasa Panjadhyaya. You see, Krishna da venonna. Gopika Gitam. And that is what is the essence. But Nambalam Krishna Bhakta Nanakara Vida or Apacharana Mudiyade. And Dasamasya Vishuddhyartam, to understand life properly so that we don't fritter away our emotional energy in Alpam. And to think and hold on to Jadam and not forget our Chaitanya Swarupam. Shuddhyartam. This is not for Bhagavatam, it is a support Bhagavatam for Krishna Katha. For Krishna Katha Shravanam, for Krishna Nama Kirtanam, and Krishna Leela Smaranatike Shuddhyartam. And that is why our Shuka Bhagavan said, Dasamasya Vishuddhyartam, Navana Vivalaksha. We will see the remaining slokas next week. Sarvatra Govindana Sankirtanam Sadguru Maharaj ki Jai.